Done. 8-4, and we are live on YouTube. We're live on LinkedIn. We've sent messages to people on WhatsApp. We're set. Come on in. Come on in. Take your front seats. You're all looking very pretty. And let's begin the show that we deserve. What do you think? What do you think about that? The show that we deserve. I changed the camera angle a bit today. I don't know how it's gonna help, but it's at a better height now. That's that. Should I reduce it a little? I don't know. It's fine, I guess. Come on in. If you can hear me, please tell me you can hear me. And then we'll have the show that we deserve. We deserve it, right? We deserve it. The show that we deserve. Let's go. Let's get the comments rolling, folks. Let's get the comments rolling. And then we'll have the show that we deserve. If you can hear me, just message, drop a comment saying, "Yay, I can hear you," or something like that. "Yes, you're audible," or something like that sort. Good morning, Mr. Rajakumar. We can hear you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And now I'll just wait for somebody to tell me on LinkedIn as well, so that I don't have to repeat myself. In one of the sessions, what happened was I was very audible on YouTube. There was no problem. And then I just kept talking and I wasn't audible on LinkedIn. And 6 minutes later, Miss Akshaya said, "Hey, can anybody hear him?" And then I was like, "Whoa, no, come on. No, why?" And so on. So, but I can't wait any longer. So I'll have to start and check myself. 1 second. And then I just kept talking. Oh yeah, so I'm audible on LinkedIn. That's great. I'm audible on YouTube. I'm audible on LinkedIn. And there are a lot of people. Take your front seats and get ready for the show that we deserve. Bum 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 bum. Hello everybody, welcome to Thinker's Frequency. We're having such a good time. This is the peak of human civilization. We're working so hard, doing such good work for ourselves, our parents, our kids, our siblings, our husbands, our wives, our friends, everybody. Well, not other people's husbands and wives, I hope. And just when we thought things couldn't get any better, like they couldn't possibly get any better, well, they just did. Things just got a whole lot better, ladies and gentlemen. Now we have Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. So let's continue with our journey of reading between the lines, things that are especially interesting and important in the world of business and finance. Let's go! Oh, but before we go, we've got to follow a tradition, right? You know the tradition. You know the sweet and sacred tradition of the simultaneous sip. We all sip something together, and it brings us a lot of good luck. And all you need for the simultaneous sip is a copper mug, a glass, a tank, a chalice, a stein, a canteen jug or flask, or a vessel of any kind. Pour it with your favorite liquid. Today I'm having coffee, cold. And here we go! Oh my god. Oh my god, let's do it again. Ah, wonderful. Sublime. You know what the simultaneous sip says, right? You know what the simultaneous sip says, don't you? Well, simultaneous sip says that you're not alone. We're in this together. And that's such a nice thing to say. With that out of the way, let's go. So a few private equity players, Permira, CVC Cap, EQT, are in talks to buy Nuvama Wealth. Now, Nuvama Wealth was the Jane Street partner, and suddenly they are looking at a buyout. The promoters, who are also private equity players, and why the buyout all of a sudden? Does it have something to do with the crisis, so to speak? Of course, of course. You can't say that this was long planned and it's just happening right now by coincidence. maybe, maybe that's an option, but not really, right? Who knows? So, HSBC Chris Capital also in the race. Company stock price down 11% after market manipulation charges against Jane Street. So, Nuvama has 4 business segments. One is wealth management, AMC, asset services and capital markets. As the second largest independent wealth management player in India. And in that play, 50% of its transactions, the capital market play come from the Jane Street deal, right? So with that going south, it's looking at a buyout. And that doesn't surprise anybody. Yesterday I wrote a post about Jane Street and how bad money comes easy, right? So I was just thinking, like, which are the most successful startups money wise in India? Like, money wise, which are the most successful startups? They are the betting apps, right? They're the betting apps. Then which startup has like really raked in a lot of money as far as the Western ecosystem is considered, right? That was OnlyFans, which was a pimping play, right? And then the amount of money which these guys could earn, like $4 billion. $4 billion is larger than what Infosys could make, right? And it's the IT bellwether, a 40-year-old company, almost 3.5 lakh people. So these people could make like $4 billion in 2 years. Something that InfoEdge, Make My Trip, Just Dial put together for the last 30 years couldn't make. So bad money comes easy. So I wrote a post on that. And suddenly people started messaging me about defending the whole play, which is also the case as far as Flash Boys is considered. So that also happened when Flash Boys was written. So anyway, moving on. A US mini trade deal in the final leg, farm and dairy out for now. So viewers of Thinkers Frequency would know that India wanted to protect its farm segment from US imports. Why? Why do you think India wanted to protect its farm segment from US imports? Well, obviously because Indian farmers are sustenance farmers. They're not really heavy economic drivers, right? They're very, very poor people. A lot of them. I'm not talking about farmers in disguise who are not really farmers but real rich people just owning land, farmland. But farmers, the small farmers of India, which constitute the bulk of the farming community, they're like sustenance farmers. So India didn't want a lot of competition for those guys from United States exports, right? Or let's say imports for us. So dairy and farmers go out of the window, and that was the bone of contention. But everything is moving really quickly as far as US trade deal is considered, because US has informed of all the countries that if you can't sign the deal by 1st August, you'll get the tariff bill. And nobody wants to pay the tariff bill, right? So everybody just wants to avoid the tariff bill, which is leading to people really quickly moving forward with the deal, which makes sense, right? Which makes sense. So at the moment, what India is asking for is some sort of better access to the electronics market, the textile market, and India is very scared about the farming market. They want to protect their interests, but US is hell bent on pushing their farm supplies like soy and so on and so forth. So that has been the bone of contention, but now we've got to make the deal very quickly. No matter what Mr. Piyush Goyal says, great person, infinite respect, but he said that timelines won't dictate our national importance. However, that's not going to be the case, because India will have to very, very quickly move as far as this whole trade deal is considered, unless it wants to get tariffed, right? Anyway, at BRICS, PM Modi calls for sanctions against terrorists. Well, obviously, I can't say anything about Mr. Modi, but who gives a shit about these condemnations, Kadi Nindas, and group condemns April 22 attack? Who cares? Who cares about this, right? But apparently it's a job, it's a very Kadi Ninda, yeah. I like Kadi Ninda. I mean, I'm just imagining how, like, did Indians teach Kadi Ninda to US? Like, do they also say Kadi Ninda instead of deep condemnations? Because they're just talking about the weather, these foreign guys, and, come back. So BRICS, because President Xi of China also didn't come to BRICS. Mr. Putin didn't also come to the BRICS summit. So it was essentially a talk about weather this time, and Kadi Ninda, a lot of Kadi Ninda. So that's pretty sad. Anyway, Argentina is seeking drone tech from India. So Argentina and India are collaborating as far as drone tech is considered. So people who are not well versed with the Argentinian politics, I'll give you a background. So Argentina was used to be a very, very prosperous country, like 100 years ago. So they used to be like the Europe, Paris of South America. They used to be called. They were pretty prosperous. Okay, but then socialism actually took over the country, and since then, that company has been in dire straits. So that country. That country has been in dire straits. They have been running deficit after deficit, debt after debt, and then the country had some sort of hyperinflation, where let's say if you're going to a restaurant, you'll have to carry a brick of notes. Okay, so the socialism aspect of Argentina, where they controlled rents, where they controlled every aspect of economy, essentially, they just basically ruined the country. Okay, Argentina was flat out ruined. Then what happened was a political firestorm erupted, and where somebody called Javier Milei took over Argentina. Okay, now Javier Milei was a footballer, a League Two goalkeeper. Then he was also a rock musician. He was a vocalist of a rock band, a cover band in Argentina, and then an economist. So he was a goalkeeper, a rock vocalist, and then an economist. So he was a very good TV guy, and he ran for president, and he essentially won the presidentship, and that was Argentinian revolution. And when he came with a buzzsaw. He was taking afuera, afuera. So afuera is like out in Spanish, which is the national language of Argentinians. So Now those guys, they what they started was Doge on steroids. So essentially, what Doge wanted to do in US, Argentina, Javier Milei did in Argentina. So Mr. Trump also called him to US to talk about Doge and what they can do as far as Doge is considered. And those particular things which Javier Milei did in Doge, they actually worked really well for Argentina. So for the first time, they've come out of the deficit situation. Uh, there's some serious good stuff happening as far as Argentina is considered. And Argentina Prime Minister, or is it President, Javier Milei, is now collaborating with India for drone tech, which is nice. Standout area of collaboration between India and Argentina during PM Modi's visit. That's nice. Experts flag dark spots in beauty treatment. Need stricter regulation, licensing of those involved in facelift procedures to consumer safety. So, a lot of surgical procedures happening in India. India is also moving towards South Korea. So, South Korea is essentially the plastic surgery capital of the world, if you do not know about that. So, South Korea is said to be where, like, per capita plastic surgery is just extraordinary, right? Now, India is also seeking a lot of that. All Indian actresses look the same, right? Like, if you notice, all of them get similar. Like, I had an actor friend, she got a buccal fat removal surgery, and then her cheekbones were like, the usual actor cheekbones, and all of them look the same. So, a look at that. Surgical procedures of just 6,70,000 surgical procedures. And non-surgical 6,10,000, like Botox, injectables, and so on and so forth. Uh, but $2.5 billion in anti-aging creams and stuff, $4 billion in 2033. Who's seen 2033? Whenever we look at 10-year projections, we should just say, yeah, sure. But anyway, so this is causing some health problems as far as some side effects and stuff like that. So consumer safety norms are getting compromised, which is leading to these people talking about self-certification. And then the government saying self-certification might not be enough. We might just need to regulate display. So should there be a regulation for cosmetic procedures? Sure. Otherwise, I'll start doing those procedures. I'll enroll myself as an expert and start minting money. And then when it goes bad, I'm just gonna say that, like, it's bad for everybody. uh, Everybody. Look at what how Aisha Takia ma'am looks like, or Manisha Lamba ma'am looks like, or everybody looks like, right? So it's just the nature of this business. I'm sorry. So whenever I'm gonna screw up some surgery, that's what I'm gonna say. But anyway, moving forward. I'm sorry, Manisha Lamba ma'am and Aisha Takia ma'am. I was like a big fan of both of them, and when they got those surgeries, I was like really heartbroken. But anyway, moving on. Nuclear energy is really looking at a fillip. I appreciate your dedication. Thank you Nishant for this consistency. Says Mr. Subhoday Hiremat. Oh, thank you, Mr. Hiremat. So sweet of you. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. Yeah. So moving on. Nuclear energy is looking at some fillip. You know how? A lot of government control is getting ceded to private players. So what they're looking at is some sort of private partnership as far as nuclear energy is considered. And as and when that happens, it's gonna be great. So nuclear energy is perhaps the cleanest, greenest, and most viable source of energy. People think that solar is great, but solar isn't that great if you consider the costs, if you consider the battery storage cost, because there's only limited duration during which solar energy is collected. However, if you store it using batteries, it is still like 10 years away from very good pricing, say the US experts, right? But nuclear doesn't have those kind of problems, and nuclear has different set of problems. However, those problems should not be an issue with adequate safety measures. So now we are looking at a lot of deregulation, a lot of ceding of control. This control existed because the nuclear program of India was created in a lot of secrecy because it was something of national importance, of strategic importance. And now if you take it away, if you can get cheap energy from nuclear, it's going to be great. And if and when we get a stock, as far as nuclear energy is considered, we should just we I mean, I wouldn't suggest anything because I don't want a certificate from SEBI or a notice from SEBI, but nuclear will have a lot of scope. So that's happening. US focus on partner India. So US is looking at partnering with India. It's mentioned itself as a partner. No allies, nobody except the US allies have been listed as partners as far as this whole nuclear program is considered. So that's interesting. Uh, trial like model may be starting point for an independent atomic energy regulatory board. So just like TRI works in the telecom sector, they are looking at nuclear sector like that. Mr. Raju Kumar says, at some point, I'd like to understand how inflation really impacts a country. In the case of Argentina, inflation was well above 25%. How did they survive? Well, they didn't survive. That's the beauty of it, right? So they didn't survive. As inflation grew up, hyperinflation grew up, money became worthless, cash became worthless, people started rationing things, trade went bad, and so on and so forth. In India, it becomes a major talking point if the inflation rate goes above 5%. You're right, Mr. Kumar. You're right. Because inflation essentially affects everything, especially in a low per capita income country, right? So even if like a food item goes pricey, everything goes for a toss for a country like India, right? And let's just imagine how Venezuela hyperinflation, where like literally, you have bricks just to buy a meal, and even Argentina, it just gets screwed. So they don't survive. It's just dire straits out of the. It's just the country essentially dies from within. There's a lot of flight of capital happening. There's a lot of black money movement. There's people start moving in safe havens and so on and so forth. So the country doesn't survive. It just people who cannot move, they remain stuck. Everybody rich just goes out and so on and so forth. So everything goes down. Speaking of things going down, reincarnations, China's internal affair, says Chinese ambassador to India. Yesterday's viewers of Thinkers Frequency would remember how we discussed about Dalai Lama and his reincarnation, ideas, or let's say tradition. So the traditional way of Dalai Lama selection is that the Dalai Lama chooses to die or like give up on the mortal self, and then reincarnation happens, which is juniors of the Dalai Lama look for signs, oracles, and so on and so forth. Then they pick a kid, right, who then becomes the Dalai Lama. Now that is a very serious issue for China because they want to have like the golden urn method, where in a golden urn a few names are written and then somebody picks. So China wants control over Dalai Lama because that will solve their problem. That will solve their Tibet problem, right? So just yesterday we discussed about it, and today the statement of the Chinese ambassador of India has come that nobody needs to talk about this. Don't talk about it, is what he says. Meanwhile, 80 MPs have signed on a letter saying that His Holiness Dalai Lama should get the Bharat Ratna. So if India gives Dalai Lama the Bharat Ratna, do you think there'll be no problems as far as China is considered? What do you think is going to happen as far as India-China relationships are considered? Do you think it's going to be a problem? Yeah, sure, right? Shouldn't be much of a surprise. Moving on, a lot of political chit chatter, which we won't discuss because a lot of it is inconsequential and incessant. We don't want to talk about those things. Yeah, Mr. Rajakumar, you're right. It's going to be a bit of a problem, right? Mobile bills may rise further as telcos keep adding subscribers. So Indian telcos have 1.08 billion subscribers now, and the mobile rates are going to rise. Does anybody know why mobile rates are gonna rise? Do viewers of Thinkers Frequency remember why mobile rates are gonna rise? Oh, yes, yes, yes. I heard you. I heard you. Mobile rates are gonna rise because India's mobile tariffs are amongst the lowest in the world. Amongst the lowest in the world. So there's no competition. As far as Indian, perhaps Israel and Italy are amongst the nations which have lower mobile charges than India. India has 8 cents or yeah 8 cents for a GB, when that rate is somewhere around $2.5 in the US. But then our per capita income is also 1/20th out of 195 countries, PPP adjusted. But anyway, mobile companies are going to be looking at increasing rates, and they're going to be looking at middle upper middle segments to go up. So you might just expect your recharge amounts going higher, and the bills going higher if you're a postpaid customer. I don't know why would anybody be a postpaid customer. It doesn't make sense to be a postpaid customer, right? The sole reason why telecom operators sell postpaid plans is to increase their ARPU, that is average revenue per user. It's always cheaper to go with prepaid plans. Postpaid plans are supposed to be milking the telecom operators, but some people still buy postpaid plans for perhaps some convenience. Even I did that, but that was a mistake. It always costs more. So these people are talking about that. Anyway, uh, airlines are worried about DGCA's new medical test rule. So DGCA, what it's saying is that we're gonna have a safety test or have a health check for every pilot at the Indian Air Force hospitals. So earlier they used to have some sort of different clinics could do the checkups and so on and so forth. Now the Indian government says that no, different setups would not work. We need to do, the Air Force guys need to do the checking. Now this is a big problem, but the reason for this is that an airline pilot got a cardiac arrest right after operating a flight, right? Which screwed people, because if airline pilots have heart, and his medical tests revealed that there were problems as far as his cardiac health is considered. So people got scared, and now what people the government says that you got to get tested at the Air Force. Now everybody hates this. The DGC, the airline industry hates this because it's gonna lead to a lot of logistical issues, right? These people have to go to those centers and so on and so forth. Then those people are gonna airlines guys are also be sad, because they'll have to have this operational hassle of doing that. And they said that we can't handle the civil payload, because tests are radically different from here, what Air Force pilots go for and what these people go for. And if you bring us to that bracket, it's gonna be difficult. But they say it's necessary for safety. Mr. Tushar Tiwari says, hey, postpaid family plans are good, almost the same as prepaid, and just one bill. It's more of a convenience issue, Mr. Tiwari. If you just carefully look at it. So if you have a postpaid plan, just carefully evaluate it and then compare it with a prepaid plan for the entire family. You'll see at least 20% cost savings, 20 to 30%. And I'm not kidding. So I read the reports and I read the telecom players, and I used to myself hold that. So in our company we had like 28 people, right? And all of us got a postpaid plan for the company, so that we thought it's going to be cheaper, right? We'll have a huge saving thing. But after I analyzed it, it was like, no, it wasn't cheaper. And then I also evaluated it for the family, so I got all my family folks out of the postpaid plan. So why telecom operators have a postpaid plan is to increase the average revenue per user. So you can guess, the illusion of cost saving is just an illusion. It's essentially they're selling convenience. They have a phone support and so on and so forth. But overall, the costs start recurring, going up for very weird things. You don't even know, but these people are charging you more. So that's a fact. I've confirmed it, and I'm willing to go, with you on the math on this, if you like. So. Electronics companies fear production hurdles on gold compound imports curbs. Okay. The coder village at heart of China's latest AI frenzy. So Hangzhou is a Chinese village which is really killing it as far as AI startups are considered. And said to be a village because interestingly, a lot of people who work at ByteDance and bigger companies, the coders, they're just resting there so that their you know what is that non-compete period goes over. So they want essentially to be free to start again, and a lot of startup activity happening as far as AI front is considered in that little village, which didn't used to have a lot of firepower. Uh, interestingly, uh, something similar has happened with Hyderabad. So I was watching Mr. Pramath Raj Sinha's interview where he was talking about how Chandrababa Naidu, Mr. Chandrababa Naidu, a lot of respect, welcomed ISB to Hyderabad when they wanted to set up the institute in Mumbai. They wanted to set up ISB in Mumbai because Mumbai is the financial capital of India, and all the trustees of ISB were in Mumbai, the business houses and stuff. So they thought that we'd set up our office in Mumbai, like the college. But Mumbai, Mr. Balasaheb Thackeray told them that you'll have to have reservation as far as staff and is considered, and that wasn't possible for those guys. And they started scouting places, and Mr. Chandrababa Naidu set them up, gave them land, treated them with so much of respect, and then ISB actually changed the face of Hyderabad as much as Hyderabad changed ISB, right? So something not in an academic way, but something similar has been happening at Hangzhou, if I'm not pronouncing that name wrong. Just let me check that out. Lengzhou, sorry, not Hangzhou, but Liangzhou. Holy, that's what you come to me for, right? So that I can pronounce wrong names. Oh, sorry, it's actually Hangzhou. Hangzhou. You know. Okay, so finally, I'll tell you. Langzhou, a quiet suburb of the Chinese city of Hangzhou. Now I swear, this is funny, but I didn't mean it like it wasn't a comedy routine. It just happened itself. So Hangzhou, which is a suburb in Langzhou. I hope that clears it. Very important. Adani Enterprises is raising 1,000 crores via NCDs. NCDs, non-convertible debentures, I guess. Yeah. So that should be NCDs, right? Yeah, they're convertible debentures. I'm just confused about what N means. Yeah, non-convertible debentures, I was right. So 1,000 crores, 75% of it's going to go for refinancing of its earlier debt, and 25% is going to go with the general corporate purposes, which with this, Adani's total debt, Adani Enterprises, will be about 49,000 crores, and that is up from 39,000 crores. So 49,300 crores, up from 30,000 crores a year ago. So they've piled up like almost 20,000 crores of debt. 20,000 crores is how much? $2.5 billion. So they've racked up $2.5 billion in debt in the last year itself. And now their debt to equity ratio is reaching 3 again. 2.9 times from 2.3 during this period last year. So debt to equity ratio is very important. Net debt to EBITDA ratio, not equity but EBITDA, net debt to EBITDA ratio is very important. So what net debt to EBITDA ratio says is that whatever EBITDA company is making, how many years it's gonna take to the repairing of debt. So if it's greater than 3, it's a big problem. So right now it's at 2.9. Earlier it went up to much above 3, right? So it probably touched 5 or something. So that's very dangerous. But Adani Adani Group is looking at raking up more capex, more growth. They're like balls of steel, man. Brass balls. Because it should have been scary for whatever they went through, right? The whole Hindenburg fiasco and all the debt. overhang and everything, but they came back and now they're raking up debt like never before. And they're gonna be making PVC plants. PVC is polyvinyl chloride. So PVC, you have you seen those Supreme plastic chairs? They are made of PVC, polyvinyl chloride, right? So they make pipes and so on and so forth. So they are going into the petchem play, Reliance foray, Reliance territory, and they're going to be making PVC plant at Mundra. So that's that. That's interesting. You got to give it to Adani's, man. Like, what kind of capex? What kind of capex have they been up to? It's just interesting. Interesting. So here's something interesting, but you just tell me what it is, okay? Indian businesses could generate 9.8 trillion in economic value by 2035. So when you hear a projection for 2035, what is the word that comes to your mind? Viewers of Thinkers Frequency, what is that word that comes to your mind when you listen to the word 2035 as far as projection is concerned? Come on, say it. Don't be shy. I heard you. Bullshit. Right? Bullshit is what comes to your mind, and it should come because nobody knows what happens 10 years later. Okay? Nobody knows. So all those projections, they are bullshit. And one of those projections was Bane Report in collaboration with these guys. Google. They wrote an e-economy report. Okay? Funded very well, e-economy report, and in that e-economy report published in 2022 or 2023, they said that the per capita income of India would reach $5,500 by 2030. And I said, this is bullshit, and I did the math, and I found out that it's rather going to be reaching somewhere around 4,500, not 5,500. So you can't be wrong like 25%. And then I wrote an article about the Bane Report, calling them drunken monkeys and so on and so forth. Now, a lot of Bane guys got offended, but nobody refuted the math. So what they were talking about was per capita income growing at an 11%. Like CAGR of 11% starting at 2023 to 2030, reaching from $2,200 to $5,500. I'm like, that's not possible. And right now we are at 2025, and we're looking at $2,800, right? So let's say if we grow 10%, it's gonna be $3,000, $3,100. Then 10%, 2027, we're gonna be $3,300. Then 2028, 10%. We're gonna be $3,600, $3,700. 2029, 3,600. We're gonna touch $4,000. 2030, we're gonna be at $4,500. That means who was right? I was right, and I did that calculation while I was just on a long drive, And these people had took crores of rupees to publish that particular report, and they got those numbers wrong. Mr. Tushar Tiwari says, why do consulting companies produce such reports? They're just paid for it, right? I guess there are two reasons for it, possible reasons. One is they're stupid. Now that's not possible really, because these people are inherently smart people. IITs, IIMs, best colleges, best pedigree, making like 60, 70 lakh, 1 crore every year. I'm not talking about the partners, talking about the normal 28, 29, 30, 32-year-old people making a lot of money. So they cannot be stupid. Like, they can't be people who are bad at math. They're definitely better than most people at math, right? The second thing is they're lying, right? They're just, these reports are fugazi. So I don't know. I won't say what they are and what they do. But that's what happened. So a big e-economy report. These guys were wrong. And we were right, So by the way, we just had a good moment, guys. We had 20 people on LinkedIn and YouTube simultaneously. So that's a first. For the first time, we have 20 people. We reached 20 people. That's nice. Now, 20 people aren't a lot of people. Unless you think about 20 people coming into your house and beating the shit out of you. Then 20 people seems like a lot of people, right? So just take that analogy and I'll congratulate myself. Anyway, less than 25% of the retail loans went to first timers in FY25. So in the last year, only 25% of the retail loans went to first timers, which means banks were very cautious in lending to new people, to new borrowers, which seems to be fine, right? Because there were a lot of problems as far as lending quality is considered. However, as far as two-wheelers are considered, about 50% were went to the new borrowers. So that's what's happening, and you know, it's pretty interesting how this is gonna shape now. Now that the interest rates are gonna come down, have come down, and they say that they're gonna reduce interest rates even further by 25 bps. So government is really not I shouldn't say government. Kudos to you, says Miss Akshaya. Thank you so much. So the government, or let's say RBI, is really serious about spurring consumption, because you know 0.5%, then they're looking at 0.25 more, so 0.75%. That's crazy amount of reduction as far as interest rates are considered. Lending is gonna be cheap, and a lot of those people, those banks, what are they doing? Bank of Baroda also waives minimum balance charges for the bank account holders. So viewers of Thinkers Frequency, why do you think they did that? Why do you think Bank of Baroda, along with other banks, other state-run banks and so on and so forth, Canara Bank, State Bank of India, Punjab National Bank, Indian Bank, why are all these banks waiving off the penalties for not maintaining the minimum balance? Why do you think that's happening? Can you guess? Can you guess? Oh yeah, I heard you, right? So people deposit money. Mr. Tushar Tiwari, you're so right. Because they know that deposits are gonna go out of the window. And we already knew that, but these people have said bank deposit is no longer the go-to option for people to save their money. People are now increasingly putting money in other financial products like mutual funds, even direct investments into stock. With falling rates on deposits, banks may not find it easy to grow their deposit book. Share of CASA has come down. CASA is a current and savings account, right? So now to spur that, they are letting go of that penalty, which is great news. That penalty, I hated that penalty. Not because, personally, but why would you just charge somebody for not maintaining minimum balance in a bank, right? Come on. What's with that? That's just like weird, right? Anyway, so Bitcoin whales are people who have a lot of Bitcoins. They are the majority market movers. They are dumping a lot of coins in exchange of stock market bets, and now Bitcoin is looking at either a decline or a stable play. So Bitcoin hasn't moved for a lot of months. Now this is very surprising because Mr. Trump has been a very vocal and clear advocate of Bitcoin, right? And they are talking about giving Bitcoin a lot of leeway and so on and so forth. Now, two factions existed as far as American right is considered. Now again, I'm gonna go to the American political right because it's important in this context. So one American right said that Bitcoin is very important because Bitcoin is a hedge and so on and so forth, and it's important that US invests into Bitcoin because so on and so forth. It's a hedge against dollar essentially, right? And the other factor said that Bitcoin is a tool to kill the dollar. So if you are supporting Bitcoin, you are supporting it at the peril of of dollar itself. So those are the two factions as far as American right is considered, that you ought to be very careful with Bitcoin, because if America loses dollar, as the reserve currency of the world, it's gonna get screwed, and there's gonna be no looking back for America, right? Or no looking forward, and that can be exacerbated if the Bitcoin thing is in control. But with that, despite Mr. Trump's real push for Bitcoin hasn't really moved since a lot of months. So a lot of people are suggesting that there could be either a drawdown, or it could be looking at some sort of stable space. Uh, that's that. I We were building a company in crypto back in 2018. I we almost partnered with a merged with a company which was a crypto company essentially, and thank God we didn't, because I never I was never a big fan of this, but essentially it's gotten a lot of traction. But then anything can get traction, right? Anything can get traction because Bitcoin hasn't really achieved market applicability for anything except for black market transactions, right? So I think I'm more on the camp of Mr. Warren Buffett, even if it sounds very, very controversially regressive or conventional. I think it makes sense. But then all currency is Ponzi, right? If Bitcoin can be called a Ponzi because it's just something that people made up, all currency is Ponzi. So maybe it's a better currency. So two minds there, but yeah, not a fan, not a Bitcoin bro, for sure. Moving on, cement companies are getting up because of a lot of real estate infrastructure, not real estate, but infrastructure investments. Some inputs cost have eased, leading to good news for the cement companies. Moving on, staffing industry is urging finance ministry to lower GST slab to 5%. So people who don't know much about staffing industry, I'm going to give you a primer. Staffing industry has players like Team Lease, has players like Genius Consultants, ABC Consultants, and so on and so forth. Manpower Group also has staffing. So this is the market constitution. These HR players provide staffing and payrolling services, where the service they offer is that the company doesn't have to have people on their payroll, right? They can have people on other companies' payroll, on the staffing payroll. So when they have like people on other companies' payroll, it doesn't go into the direct OPEX, right? It basically goes in a different finance bracket, which leads to better accounting outcomes. Now, this particular industry has very less margins. They almost have no margins. So staffing industry, you'll see companies like Genius Consultants, like Team Lease and so on having great revenues, but their net margins are like 1%. 1% is their net profit, right? So what these people want is some sort of leeway as far as the GST drawdown is considered. Right now they take like 18%, I guess. So at the moment, this industry works at yeah, in the 5 to 18%, but now they want the 5% because it'll benefits. They say that they add a lot of economic value because they provide people the opportunity to grow without adding direct OPEX costs, right? So they're right. Maybe that helps. Speaking of stuff that's right, very good news, by the way. A fresh plan in the works to promote Indian ships for higher cargo share. So India had a scheme to have more shipbuilding and cargo share improvement, but that scheme really didn't go anywhere. So now the government is actually looking at a new scheme to push the you know basically Indian shipbuilding and ship industry in general for the cargo play. This could be good news for stocks like Masdoc, GRSE, Cochin Shipyard, and so on and so forth, right? And this is generally very good for the country, because shipbuilding, India is a peninsular country. We have such a large coastline, and Indian shipbuilding isn't really an industry. So a lot of forex actually goes out of India because of lacking shipbuilding industry and the cargo play. So if we have this solid industry in place, the country benefits a lot, because these lead to real engineering jobs, right? Real engineering prowess. So that's awesome. So let's hope that happens. At the moment, the news is domestic flagship scheme to miss goals. Share of Indian flagships remain in single digits. Move was aimed at lowering forex outgo. Less than half earmarked funds utilized. Local companies want level playing field. Scheme revision on cards. So they're looking at scheme revision, which is great. Which is great, right? Moving on. Mr. Musk has launched the America Party. Do people know about that? Mr. Elon Musk has launched a new political party called the America Party. Now, this is a big deal. He says that the deficit spiral is a death spiral, and it's going to bankrupt America. And if we don't stop this beautiful bill and such spending activities, America will go bankrupt. And if America goes bankrupt, everybody who holds American assets will also go bankrupt. And if that happens, there's going to be a Great Depression. And I want to save America from going bankrupt. So after literally screwing himself in circles, he's now launching an America Party. Now, before you think, like, come on, nobody can launch a new party. So his strategy is not to fight, give a presidential candidate. So that's not the strategy of the America Party. What they want to do is have Senate seats at strategic places, enough to be the kingmaker of sorts. So US has House of Representatives, US has Senate, then the parliamentarian, and then the presidentship, right? So House, Senate, President. Now, can't pick the president because that's too expensive, right? And he tried because he put his life on the line and he got it. But that is difficult. So if you still want to have a sway at a least cost, what you want to be doing is what Mr. Musk is doing. Pick a few places where you think you're going to win the Senate seats, win them, and then, no bills will get passed if you have the control of the Senate, right? So then you will become the kingmaker. That's what he's looking at. So that's cool. Very, very strategic. I hope he doesn't get screwed in the rear because of this particular move, because as Mr. Masa said, Masayoshi-san, in a fight between a crazy guy and a smart guy, the crazy guy always wins. So Mr. Trump is crazy first, smart second. Mr. Musk is smart first, crazy second. It's a very tough fight. So you don't want to get into anybody's crosshairs. That's what, it means. There's an interview with Mr. Ashwini Vaishnav. He says that Indian Railways and Indian Electronics, we are looking the whole value addition bit that we discussed. So yesterday, viewers of Thinkers Frequency would remember that Indian Electronics somehow, through some means that I don't understand, measure, states that it has 20% value addition as far as the electronic supply chain is considered. China has 38%. And what India wants to be doing is by 2030, it needs to have 30%. And by 2035, it needs to be equal to China as far as electronics manufacturing is considered. So now I read that as something weird. I don't buy that totally, but he says that, so I will trust him, of course. And he says that we are inherently developing capabilities. So the news that China took its 200 engineers out doesn't affect us. We are looking at inherent qualities and capabilities as far as electronics and chip building and so on and so forth is considered. So that's what he says. And he's also talking about railways going ahead and so on and so forth. Mr. Tushar Tiwari asks, America is a two-party country, right? Yes, yes, absolutely. Republicans, Democrats. Yes, there's a Libertarian Party, but that hardly gets like 1%, 2% votes. But yeah, America is definitely a two-party country. And if this independent America party so takes shape, it's gonna be weird. You know who tried this before Elon Musk, Mr. Musk? Mr. Howard Schultz, the founder of Starbucks. So he was running for president in 2016, was it? 2016. I guess it was 2016 or it was 2020. So yeah, he was running for president in 2020, I guess, and he was running as an independent. So he said most Americans are not Democrats or Republicans, they are just Americans. That was his play. But then he backed out because Trump said he was weak, I quote. Anyway, moving on. There's an interesting number which I wanted to talk about. This one. How is railways contributing to making logistics more efficient and cost effective? Okay, this is the question asked by the reporter to Ashwini Vaishnav sir. He says railway offer logistics at less than half the cost of highways per ton per kilometer. That's okay. Per ton per kilometers, highway 2x railways. Understood. It is 95% more environmental friendly as compared to highway based logistics. Correct. Trucks cannot be environment friendly as railways. Understood. The railway's share in cargo handling increased from 26% to 29% in the last 11 years. Now the strategic goal is to exceed 30% and then 35%. Timeline isn't mentioned. So in 11 years, railway share grew from 26 to 29%. Does that sound great? Does that sound great? I don't know. Anyway, speaking of I don't know, Rebel Foods has explored a stake sale in one of its chocolate brands called Simur. Now, Rebel Foods, you might remember, is in the same space as Cure Foods. Cure Foods is going an IPO. So, Rebel Foods started as a cloud kitchen when cloud kitchens were raging. And then when House of Brands became a rage, Rebel Foods became House of Brands for cloud kitchens, for food delivery. So let's say when Thrasio began, the House of Brands business got a lot of billions of dollars as far as clones of Thrasio in India are considered, like Mensa Brands, Global Bees, and so on, right? A lot of players. A Good Glam Group, and all of these people raised a lot of money. Now Global Bees is shutting down. They have maybe shutting down. They've got a lot of problems. IBC, they've been pulled into IBC. Mensa, Good Glam Group, you all know about. But similar thing happened as this particular play was getting invented, the House of Brands biz. These cloud kitchen operators saw this as an opportunity to brand themselves as House of Brands, but in food delivery. So Cure Foods was a healthy cloud kitchen company, right? But that didn't work. So they started becoming a House of Brands. They started acquiring a lot of food cloud kitchens, and they raised incredible amounts of money, right? $200 million in just 3 years. 200 million is 1600 crores, over 1600 crores. So that's a lot of money. Now Cure Foods is trying to go IPO because of what I wrote about. So people might just like to go and check out my post on Cure Foods. Rebel Foods is also looking at IPO, but now stake sales are looking at happening. So is this similar to what Good Glam Group went through? Is the House of Brands stress finally hitting the food delivery play? I think yes. Because House of Brands and food delivery is essentially a very, very bad business. You know why? Because you're totally dependent on Swiggy and Zomato and all of these players. And these players, since they don't make money themselves, they want to enter that business themselves. So Swiggy, Zomato, all of these people tried opening their cloud kitchens as well, right? And that didn't work out, they stopped. But then they tried to do it again with the whole 15 minutes thing, right? The Zepto Cafe and Instamart Cafe and all of these people. So you are dependent on a platform which doesn't make money, which wants to try your business. So what happens to you? That's a James Headley Chase novel, by the way. Very good novel, thriller. So what happens to me now? That's a very good question as far as the house of brands people are considered. Moving on. Nykaa expects mid 20% revenue growth in Q1 on beauty demand. So some action happening as far as consumption is concerned, probably. But still, Nykaa is at a 1.1 to 2% net margin play. Let's see how they can raise the margin as far as their business is considered. Moving on, there's some action starting to happen as far as this consumption play is considered. You know how? Because hotels, hospitality industry is seeing an uptick. And hospitality industry is not just seeing an uptick as far as the cheap place considered, it's also seeing an uptick as far as domestic place considered. Hotel prices or tariffs are rising to like 30,000 rupees, even in bad places. This is probably why international travel is becoming so attractive to people, because people are like, if India is so expensive, why don't we just go to Vietnam, right? But if this could be sign of something as far as the consumption market is considered, because if hospitality and travel, these two segments start picking up, it might just show something happening to the consumption story. However, they have been picking up for a while, so it might just be a nothing burger, but could possibly look at the consumption story in days to come, when the interest rates reductions finally hits the markets, right? When the banks actually translate the interest rates reduction to customers. So that's going to be interesting. And that's what I have for you, ladies and gentlemen, today. This was the 43rd episode of Thinker's Frequency, our daily mental workout, our daily dose of insights and analysis which don't lead to paralysis right before we punch in. I hope you have a beautiful day, personally and professionally. I'll see you tomorrow, same place, same time, hopefully. Bye-bye. Take care.